All right, during the break I finished up this loading code from here to here. Just transferred everything from the final order onto the form. So in this case, when I'm loading, and it doesn't have to be done in form load, don't get me wrong. Later on in Unit 3, we're going to have this list of pizza orders. We're just going to click one. When we click one, we're going to write code. Click event says take everything from that order, go get it out of the database. Take everything from that order and throw it on the form. And then we click on a different one. We go get that one from the database, take everything from that pizza order, throw it on the form, wipe out the old one, put on the new one. So it doesn't have to be done in form load, but it's just a nice place for us to do this. So when you're doing your assignment tracker program, you're going to figure out where do I want to go collect those things? When? We'll figure that out. I'm going to help you with that a little bit. All right, so here I've transferred everything onto the form. So when I run, it's not going to look much different because the soda was blank. All of these were unchecked. There's the large. The date was already picked. Okay. So it doesn't look too much different. I also finished button save, and now it's just the reverse of taking what's on the form all the way over here, take what's on the form and stuff it into the class. Why? I might want to save it in the database, right? I cannot save from the form to the database directly. It has to go through a class. Then the class takes all that new data, validates it, first of all, very important, validates it to make sure it's acceptable, and then executes code to spit it out to the database. And that often happens on button save. So this is not really too far displaced from where it would end up. We don't have a database yet. So if we want to see this work, we're going to do that breakpoint thing again. Only thing that's different is I now have the ability to look at everything. So I'm going to put 2's on the end of his name, and I'm going to say that he's ordering this for Saturday, change it to a small, a few toppings, make it 4 of them. Pick a soda for him, cheese sticks, he's hungry, 20, and he's got a $2 coupon. Now I could format this, and we're going to do all that later, so that the 2 shows up as $2 instead of just 2. Again, nothing has changed until I hit save. Then it starts transferring it all over, and I can look inside here and see that there are 20 cheese sticks, 2 for the coupon, Miguel 2, Baltimore 2, true for the green peppers, false for the mushrooms, 4 pies, date has changed, small has changed, size has changed, and there's my Pepsi Max. It's a tedious process, it is. They take it from the class, show it on the screen. Once you're done with it on the screen, the user's made changes, you want to save those now. You have to transfer them individually off the form on back into the class. And then the class does the saving and the validating and all the rest of that stuff. There's no easy way around this. It's tedious. It is. The one tricky part here, and it's not tricky because you've done it before, but just as a reminder, is the size. What the heck is that? It's a class level variable. You did this, I believe, in Unit 5, where in the radio button check changed event, I apologize for all the scrolling, here's the radio button check changed event. I put them all in the same one. Take the text off the radio button, whichever one they click, take the text off the radio button and remember it. You did something similar to that in either Unit 5, I think it was Unit 5. Maybe it was 4. There's my sender, right? That's all 5 radio buttons, 4 radio buttons are linked to this event. Who sent it? If it was this one, grab the text. If it was this one, grab the text. If it was this one, grab the text. Because I have good text on my radio buttons, my code says every time they click a radio button, save its text in the size variable. And then when the save time comes, I can just look inside that variable and transfer it to the class. So that's a technique, that's all. People are about as glassy-eyed as I've seen you. Now that's in the recording, I apologize, but you are. I understand. I'm trying to get through this so you can try it. Just talking about it. I've been talking a long time. That was hour number 8 for Unit 1. That's a lot of talking. Time for me to shut up and let you write some code. So let's finish it, and then you can do that. The last component of a business class are its custom methods, things that it knows how to do because it has rules. There are rules, custom methods. We talked about it earlier on. I'm not going to go scroll crazy again, but I'm going back to the class now, and I'm going to collapse my constructor. I'm going to collapse my members and properties. There were 4 things that we put in a business class: members and properties, constructors, and custom methods. Again, it's just for organizing. You don't need to create regions. I'm doing it because it helps me collapse things, hide them when I'm not looking at them. Inside here, you write code for things that you want your class to be able to do. For instance, I might want to write, and these have to be public because the outside world wants to ask for this information. I might want a public method called order total. If it's a method, this is a new kind of method. We haven't done one of these before. This one's special. It's going to send back a value. It's like me calling Robert and saying, Robert, calculate the order total, because he knows how. I just sit here and wait. What do I expect? I expect him to send me something, right? What type of data is he going to send me? A decimal. I'm going to put the word calc in front. Still contemplating that. What information do I need to send him? Well, all the sausage and all that. Oh, no. He's inside the business class. He has access to all the what sausage is selected, what's the date, what's the size, what's the everything. He's got all that. I don't have to send him anything. When he's done doing his magic, he sends me a number. So now this is how you define a method. First of all, they're almost always public. There are private methods. Private methods can only be used inside the class. They're much more rare. They're only used inside the class. This is a public method. This designates what he sends back to me. What if he doesn't send anything? It's pretty rare for methods. You put void there. We'll talk about it again in the next unit. But for right now, every custom method that you create is going to send something back. One thing. Maybe it's a string. Maybe it's a number like this one. And now we write the code. We have to provide the instructions so that Robert knows how to do his job. Over here is a bunch of stuff that tells me how to calculate a pizza order. In the interest of time and getting past your glassy eyes, I'm not going to write all that complicated stuff. Let's make it simple today. We're just going to take a look at the size, and if the size is personal, we'll charge that. So we're to calculate the order total, and then we'll multiply by the quantity. Done. First, we got to figure out what to charge him. So Robert is going to take a look at the current selection for the size. Notice I'm using the property. I've been trained by people who are better at this than I am that the only time you use members is in the constructor. Everywhere else, you use properties. I used to get picky about it, and I've been straightened out. So you use properties, except in the constructor. There you use members. Sometimes. But everywhere outside of the constructor, custom methods, you always, if you need something from inside here, Robert goes to the gatekeeper and says, Matt, you're in charge of the size. Tell me what the size is. He doesn't go there directly. Could he? Yes. Does it make a lot of difference? No, except to simplify things. If it's a method, you use the properties. Simplify. So he says, what's the size? If the size is personal, then the size cost, uh-oh, Robert needs a variable, just like before. Then the size cost equals 350. Actually, I'm going to put an M on that now because of the decimal place. I can't put a double in a decimal. Oh, shouldn't that be a constant? Mm-hmm. Next time. Next time. For right now, let's get through this. Oops, break. Okay, small. And I'll just try to follow what I have here, 5, 7, 50, 11. Shouldn't I make that a default? No, because there's only one option left. What if they enter something else? My validation is not going to let anything else get through. By the time we ask Robert to calculate the total, I know that every piece of data in there is valid. Ultimately, we haven't written that code yet, but we will know that everything is valid before we allow him to calculate the total. Need another variable for the total. It's kind of like a working variable. Total is equal to the size cost times, oh wait a minute, where's the there is no property for size clause. This is just a working variable for Robert. Size cost is something Robert's a scratch pad for him. Nobody else gets to see it, it's just him. That's why it's not, it doesn't look like a property. But notice it's not a member either, is it? It's no underscore on it. It's just a local variable that Robert's using for his work. Multiply that by the number of pies, property. And then here's what's new for you. We're going to return the total. The return statement says, whoever called, send them this. Every method that has a return type here, decimal, has to return something. Because we said he was gonna. His job is to return something, so he has to return it. I'm still getting an error on size cost. The reason for that is because there's a possibility, at least C# thinks so, that we can get through here and never hit any of these, right? What if it's jumbo? That's C# thinking right now. We're going, it's not going to happen. C# doesn't know that. Easy way around it is just say, there, initialize it. Then if we get jumbo, it'll fall through and we'll use 0 and C#'s happy. But C# is saying that there's a possibility that you could get through this switch statement and not hit any of these, and then your size cost would be undefined. So that'll shut it off. Now I'm inside the class, right? Robert is part of my class now. I have this piece of paper. Robert's in here, or his phone number, or whatever you want to think about. I picture him as in here. And whenever I want, Whenever the user wants to know the cost of a pizza order, they call him. The user. That would be this guy, right? I'm back in the form again. Here's my button save. Whenever I save, I am now going to set my total label, LBL total, order total, dot text equals what? Whatever the order total is. How do I know? I ask the class, hey you, final order. What's your order total? Calculate it. He's a method, so I must provide parentheses. Even though I'm not sending him anything, I still got to give him an envelope. So here's the envelope. He goes, yeah, whatever. It's just a rule for methods. When you call a method, you remember we wrote some methods last semester. I'm just going to slide down here's form load. Right there's load sodas. That's calling a method that's on the form, not in the class. Same thing, parentheses. Now it's complaining. Why? Because he's sending me a decimal. I can't put that in a label. It's not the form's job to know how to calculate a total. It's the form's job to display it whenever the time is appropriate, whenever the user asks for it. The business class knows how to, because we gave it a method, a custom method, knows how to calculate the total. So now when I hit run, right now we've simplified. We said a small pizza costs $5, and if I ask for 3 of them, doesn't matter what else I do on the form right now, I'm going to fix it later. Doesn't matter what else I do, it should cost me $15. No. Oh, parsing my coupon, forgot to put one in. Actually, there's one in there, isn't there? Why did my parse fit? This is one I haven't tested. I wrote it during the break, forgot to hit run. Oops. The reason it's choking is because I formatted it. When I brought it in from the class, put it on the form, I put a $sign on it. Do I have Voker tools here? Yes, good. Okay. So what I need to do is unformat it. What did I do? Same thing you did last semester. If it might have a $sign in it, then unformat it. Hopefully that won't crash now. Let's try again. $11, but what happened? I had to start over again. Still large, 1, 11. That's good. Small, 5 of them, $25. Here's the final order. Everything I change goes in here. No. Whenever I hit save, it takes what's on the form, transfers it into here. And when I hit save, it calls calc order total to find out, okay, now what's the total? Now what's the total? Over and over and over again. This works just like your programs last semester, right? Yes, but it's much more maintainable. It's got some reusable components. Got a few things to tweak. How does he calculate that? I don't care. If I need to change the way he calculates it, I change it in the business class. The GUI never gets touched. I'm going to, while you guys are working on lab, I'm going to go through here and do all these things and make it calculate the way it's supposed to. Because right now it's not charging you for cheese sticks, and it's not charging you for soda. It's not charging you for toppings. That can't be right. I'll fix it. I was complaining about Constance. Oh, it's in the class. See, even I'm doing it. Here's a constant. If I need a constant for a class, where do I put it? As close, no, it doesn't go in the form. Because then if I if I want to reuse this class somewhere else, it doesn't know what the constants are. But remember when we did have them in the form, we put them at the very top so that they're easy to find. I'm going to put them even before my members and properties. I'm going to create another region. These are business constants. Not every class has them. That's why I didn't tell you about them earlier when there were 4 parts. Here's an optional part. I need a constant for medium cost and personal cost and all that kind of stuff. Do I make these public or do I make them private? That's a good question. There's no straight answer. Depends. Another one of those. If I make them public, they're constants, right? How could my user program, the GUI, how could it screw it up if it's a constant? It can't. It can't screw it up because it's a constant. You can't change it. So if I make it public, that means the GUI could say, hey, what's the price of the small pizza because I want to put a tooltip on my radio button? If I make it public, it can ask directly, hey, you business class, what's the current cost? So I'm going to make it public. If you make it private, it's only available to the class. If you don't want anybody to know what you're charging, then make it private. We'll still calculate the total. And some math genius might be able to work it backwards and figure it out. Like order 1 with nothing else, large. I wonder how much that costs. Oh, look, the large cost is $11. So there's really not much to hide here. Public. It's still a constant. Still has a type. Give it a name. I still use all caps for constant. So this is the personal size cost. The size is getting a little redundant here. We'll keep it. Equals 3.5 M. Lovely comments. This means fill in the blank later, right? And so on. If my typing had fallen down, I would have quit, but I'm doing good. And now down here, I just use them. These you can use inside, you can reference them outside, but all we ever can do, they're constants, all we can do is get them, use them. So there's no danger here. The reason we have members and properties for all these is there's danger. Miguel's order is for a week from now. Are we taking advanced orders? Next week? No. Can we order a jumbo? No. So we're going to add validation to all of these, but I don't need to validate constants because they never change. So that's why those are up there. And then down here, I just use the appropriate one. Personal size cost. Small cost. Medium cost. And large cost. I get the same result, but using constants like you're used to. The constants are part of the rules, right? I go in a business class. I put them at the very top. So that they're what's most likely to change. My properties, my custom methods, they don't change as much, but constants might change. So that's where they go. And if you look here, there's a whole bunch more, right? There's $1.50 for the soda. There's 75 cents a piece for cheese sticks. I need more constants. A lot of business classes have a lot of constants. But that's where they belong. The form has no clue. Doesn't care. If it does care, it can ask about constants and get them. Should probably run and make sure it works. Okay, one large pizza should be $11. Medium. Looks good. Before we're done, all of these buttons will work. They will delete from the database. Make changes to this and cancel it. Ew. How do we put them back? They don't change until we hit save. So putting them back, the cancel button is easy. You go back to the business class and say whatever you had before, because we haven't changed it, give it back. So that's not too hard. Ultimately, we'll tie this to a database. They will make changes, save them, add new records to the database. Then sometime around the end of April, we'll write reports. How do we do in the month of May for pizzas? Give me pie charts in that report. Oh, cool stuff. I think there's one more topic here. Methods to do calculations. You can, instead of doing methods, this is a method. I can tell because it's got parentheses. I can, and we saw this before, create a property. Notice the parentheses are gone. This is now a read-only property because you can't set the gross pay. You can only calculate it, but you can ask for it. Should they be properties? Should they be methods? I mentioned before, I always use custom methods to do calculations because many other languages don't have properties. But it can be done. It's here. If you want to try it and it's appropriate, it's fine by me. But when you call a property, you don't put parentheses. You call a method, you put parentheses. Subtle difference. Pretty sure this is the last time. Yep. Good. Finally. Every class, when you define it, has a method called ToString. Really? You might remember this from the other day when we were here in form load, and I said an order dot ToString. Did I write that? You see me write a method called ToString? Oh. It's built in. You're going to hate the answer you get. I'm going to go to my form, and just for test purposes, I'm going to stick a label up here. This is just for test purposes to show you how ToString works. Where did it go? There it is. I'm going to park it up here. It's still auto size, so if ToString gives me something really huge, it'll just stretch across the top of the screen. I'm even going to leave the label 8 in there so I can see it and hopefully remember to delete it later. When the user hits save, I want to also change, that label needs a name. LBL test ToString. Awesome name. In addition to displaying the total, I'm also going to change label test_string.text to be equal to the final order ToString. What is that going to do? Nothing you're going to like, but the point here is it's defined automatically. Poof. Because you created a custom class, every single class has ToString defined. Here's what you get. It's a pizza shop order, that's the namespace, dot pizza order. That's the class name. Thank you so much for displaying the class name to me. Why did this turn into, that doesn't do me any good. The good news is it doesn't crash if you ask for ToString and haven't defined it. The other good news is you can override it. Override means you have one, I don't want to use yours. I want my own. Notice it looks just like a method. It is. Public string, ToString sends back something, right? String. ToString, the kicker is the word override. You have to put it in there because ToString already exists. If you try to define your own without overriding it, you get yelled at. Every method can be overridden. If you write your own custom methods, you don't normally override them because they're yours. So, somewhere in here, just under custom methods, I think is a good place to put it, I'm going to create a public override string ToString. Notice when I did that, it only gave me the 3 things that I can override. There were a couple of others that I never used. This says, whatever the old ToString would have done, give me that. I don't want that. Go away. What should we do instead? One of the things I like to do is get every piece, every member that I have in my form, in my class, excuse me, every member that I have in my class and just concatenate them all together and make this big, huge, ugly string. So let's grab the order date. I'm going to use the property because remember, you only use the members in the constructor. Order date, and I'm going to ToString that, or let's just do a ToShortDate string, right? There we go. Remember that guy from last semester? And then I'm going to concatenate the customer first name. And then I'm going to concatenate the customer last name. And then I'm going to concatenate, comes after that, the size. If I wanted to, what the heck, pepperoni. That's a Boolean. What's it going to do? True or false? You can concatenate a Boolean to a string and it'll display the words true or false. Pepperoni and sausage and onions and green peppers and mushrooms. Then we also had a soda. I'm sorry, number of pies. And a soda. What the heck is the purpose of this? I can hear you already. Okay. And we also have a coupon, and we have cheese sticks. I think that's everything. Why would I want that? For test purposes. Let's not say only, for testing. How do I know, I could use a debugger, but how do I know that all of this stuff, whatever I'm typing, is actually making it into the class? I wrote the code. That doesn't mean it works. You've proved that how many times, right? Just because you write it doesn't mean it works. How do I know? One way is ToString. Now I'm going to hit save. It's going to move everything off the form into the class, and then I'm going to display the total, and then I'm going to say, show me what's in ToString, which is just this big, huge concatenation of everything that's in my class. God, that's gross. Yes, it is. But it lets me look and say, yep, that's the right date. Miguel's name is in there. It's squished together with his last name, but that's okay. It's just for testing purposes. If you want to put spaces and \n's, go ahead. I picked a personal pizza. Good. True, false, true, true, false, true, false. I don't know what order those are, but at least I see 3 trues. Good, and 2 falses. Are they the right ones? And Diet Pepsi, yep. 225, yep. And 11. What's 11? Oh, quantity or cheese sticks. That's handy. Yes. Once you're pretty sure that you're transferring from the form to the class, you can turn that off. I also use it from when I get data from the database. Unit 3. I want this pizza order. It goes out to the database, grabs it. I say put it on the form and it doesn't work. Stupid programmer. Must be the class, right? Can't be the GUI. Must be the class. Now you got something else to blame. How do I know? A ToString. Did all the data come in out of the database? Is that what I expect? Yes. Well, then it's got to be the GUI's not displaying it right. If it came out of the database wrong, then I got to go fix the class. It'll help me figure out where problems are. Once I've done that, do I take the ToString out of my class? Could, but it's not doing anything. If nobody ever calls it, it's just sitting there ready. And I leave it. I leave it. There's one other circumstance where this comes in handy. ToString. This is not something you would do in your pizza program, but it might be something you do in your assignment tracker program. Hint, hint. I'm not going to be very subtle about assignment tracker. I've figured out that I've stuffed a lot of things into your head. And if I make you try to figure out too much on your own, about half of you are going to drop, and I don't want that. No more than a third of you should be dropping. No, none of you should be dropping. It's a mid-state tradition. If you get past the first semester, almost very, very rare people drop this class. It's smart enough to get here. You're probably going to fight through it. There's some tough stuff. This is not the time. So I'm going to take some time in the recording and talk a little bit about the assignment tracker. And I'm going to change the assignment to give you more hints, not to change what it does, to give you more hints on how to get it done. I'm going back to form load. Actually, I'm going to duck into this little initialize here. And I should put other stuff. All this, let's do that. All this is really cluttering up my form load, right? You know I'm not a big fan of cluttering form load. Go away. Let's put it into initialize form. All I've done is hidden it inside of another method, that's all. Still doing the same stuff. Underneath here, I'm going to do this. CMB soda, sounds awesome, dot items dot add. Sounds familiar, right? Can add stuff to combo boxes and list boxes too. Which pizza order did I fill? It was final. No errors. What? What did I just say to do? I said, make me a Miguel pizza order. Right? Poof. And it's got all this stuff. What I just said, and this is legal, is take that entire thing, all of that, put it to combo box. What's it going to display in the combo box? His name, the size, the date, whatever's in ToString. If I can find my own ToString, right? If I hadn't, what would it give me? Pizza order problem dot pizza order, and it puts that in the combo box. But I define my own ToString. This is going to be gross, right? Because what's the ToString right now? Everything you want to know about Miguel's order. I know it's hard to see the cheap seats, but there all it is, chopped off. But what's cool about this, if I click on that, it's the entire class. It's in the list box. The entire class is linked to the list box. And I can click on this and say, whichever one's selected, the selected item, give me the pepperoni steps. Even if it never displays here, it's still hiding behind the scenes. Magic. I've used that dozens of times. Every time I do, I take it out because it sucks up memory like nobody's business. Because every one of the items, imagine if I had 200 items in that combo box, each one of them is an entire pizza order. You can just hear the RAM shrinking. What if I don't want all that nonsense? Change this. Notice now that it's displaying on the form, I'm prettying it up. Whatever's in ToString. By definition, that's how combo boxes and list boxes work. If you put a class, I just did, an entire pizza order, into the list box, perfectly acceptable. All of it is in that list box is the way I think of it. It's not really in there, it's a link to it, but it feels like it's really in there. What the combo box slash list box will do is display whatever ToString tells it to display. So ToString has two purposes. It's used for debugging. And right now that ToString is not available to me anymore. That big long one, I have to switch back and forth. The second purpose for ToString is to allow you to take a class object, put it in a combo box, list box, and you control what displays, how much of what's in here displays. But if I select Miguel, the selected item, sounds familiar? The selected item is everything. Everything. So I could say selected item dot green peppers. If I want to. With a little manipulation, but not much. It's available to me. Hint, hint. Okay. Let's go through that assignment very quickly. I did tell you that I am going to modify it to give you some hints. Convert the due date from a combo box to a date picker. No hints. Create a class to store the three components. Oh, geez, it's already a hint. 3 components. How many members in your class? What 3? The date that the assignment is due, the name of the assignment, the description, whatever it's called in your program, and the class. Remember that stuff that's on the form, those 3 things? When the user hits save assignment, that one brand new assignment, you stuff all those 3 things into the class. I just showed you how to stuff them into the class. Then what do you add to the combo box? The entire thing, like I just showed you. You take the whole thing and you put it in the combo box. What do you got to have in order to stick a whole thing into the combo box? Overridden ToString. Modify your program to use the class. That's what I mean. When you say put in the class, put the class in the list box. What happens when it's done? Take the whole thing and move it. It's a selected item. You don't have to say it's a class, or you just say selected item, move it. Shouldn't have to change the move code at all. And then it says provide a mechanism to load an existing file. You're all pretty good at that. I think there's nothing related to the class there necessarily. Provide a mechanism to save to a file. Now you're going to have to ToString. When you write it out to the file, right now it's a string thing, selected item. I don't think you're going to have to ToString. They can do it out for you. So now I'm on the board for the recording. I have a list box. And here's the assignment tracker program. and it's due on such and such a date, but really what is that? It's a class. That's the way I draw my classes. Assignment tracker, due on 3/1, that's not true, and it's for programming logic intermediate. This whole thing is actually inside that list article. That's what I want to see. You don't see it. Can't tell. The whole thing is in it. Volker said that those assignments are supposed to appear date formatted in ISO format, followed by a couple of equal signs, followed by the assignment or the class name, followed by the description, right? Sounds like a rule. Guess where you do that? Do the class. Where? I'll let you think about that one. So what you're going to do in your program, if you haven't done it already, some of you are already at that point, is define a new class. We did that about a month ago. Define a new class, 3 members and properties. You're going to need a constructor, maybe a second one, it's up to you, but at least one. Maybe a custom method or 2. Remember, all the rules go in here. All your GUI is supposed to do is display stuff. All the rules go in there. I have a meeting with Catherine's class because they want to build us a server. Yay. So I'm going to meet with them. If you feel like you need assistance, hang around. If you love this lecture so much you want to hear it again, hang around. It starts again at 4, just like the movie theater. And I will have lab. I don't need to be there for 13 minutes. So let me stop the recording, get it going onto the website, and then I'll answer whatever questions you have.